All right, guys. Well, hello and welcome. We are creating a recording for your campus in and around how best to use LinkedIn and LinkedIn for students. So my name is Nicole Seuss, and I manage the relationship between most of the higher education institutions in the state of Texas and LinkedIn. One of my favorite aspects of my job is really to work with students specifically on how they can manage their own professional identity. So before I get into all this, I want to talk about what it means to manage a professional identity. So in today's world, unfortunately, the more successful you are likely relies on who you know. In today's world, connections matter. And when we look at this from a statistical standpoint, it is the people who live in more rural areas, the people who are from disadvantaged populations, first-gen college grads. They have actually a 12x disadvantage in the workplace coming right out of school, and certainly as that progresses. And that's really hard. Like, how do you compete with somebody who doesn't have that disadvantage? So one of the things that LinkedIn in particular really cares about is getting students to create a professional brand. And on LinkedIn, you can do it for life and you can do it for free. And so that's really what we're going to talk about today is how best to leverage LinkedIn from a free perspective to reduce some of this disadvantage that anyone may have, particularly if you do come from one of these disadvantaged populations. I myself am a first-gen college grad. I am obviously a female. There are several things, but even myself, I enjoy some privilege. So depending on where you are and who you are within your college career, this may be particularly meaningful for you, not just upon graduation, but certainly following your time at the institution as well. So it's a little bit about me and what we're going to talk about today. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So LinkedIn for students. So what we're going to cover today is really an introduction about what this is. We'll talk a little bit about what a professional brand is. I'm going to give you some very tangible steps to build both a profile and a network, and then some very tangible steps about what you can do and where you can take this. So let's pause here and think about LinkedIn. Now, I'm sure you are all familiar with the concept of a social media site, and that we are. We are a social media site, but we're for professionals. So if you break it down in the most simplistic context, like what to do around a donut, you can see what you're going to do with all of these other social media sites. But with LinkedIn, we're looking at the business context only. This platform has regularly been awarded the #1 most safest platform. We have some very strict rules about who and what we advertise to. We don't allow people under the age of 16 to even be on our platform. And we enjoy a very professional context. And so that's what this is about. This is about creating your professional presence on the web. So you all have all these great skills, I'm sure, about how you manage your personal identity. And you may be doing all kinds of different things on Facebook and TikTok and Twitter and wherever you happen to manage your personal identities. You can use those same skills on LinkedIn. We just look at it from a professional context. So a little bit of a different lens. The other piece that's even more critical is creating this network. So on LinkedIn, the way that this works is obviously you have yourself, you have your first degree connections, you have second degree connections, and you have third degree connections. So your friends, essentially. And having this strong connection network is critically important to your jobs now, but also in the future. I graduated a long time ago, but I can tell you people that I was friends with and connected with in college at my time. There's one girl in particular, her name is Anna, and we were friends. I sort of peripherally knew her in the dorms when I was in college. We went on, we both moved cities several times. We've both changed careers several times, but we've stayed connected on LinkedIn because we both have profiles. Today, Anna is the CEO of a company, and I'm on her advisory committee. We connected many years after school, and both of us remained in those connections through LinkedIn. So you never know where your connections in college are going to take you. And this is exactly how we reduce some of the disadvantage that some populations have. So please connect with people, and not just everyone, but like true people that you know, you've worked with, you feel like they're going places, your uncles, your brothers, your cousins, professors. You never know where these connections are going to lead you in your future life. So how do we do this, right? So essentially what we're going to first define a few key terms, and then we can walk through there. So workforce is just the people that are working in and around your local geography. Connections are true contacts that you make on LinkedIn. Your network is considered your 3 degrees. So not just your first connections, but their connections and their connections. So 3 degrees of connections. In a referral, this is the number one way companies hire today. Now this is changing because DE&I, like from an equity standpoint, a global diversity standpoint, people are realizing this isn't a great way to hire. All of our employees look the same if we just hire friends of friends. So this is changing, but as of right now, 80% of jobs are filled through internal referrals, meaning I work at LinkedIn. Likely they're going to hire someone who I tap on their shoulder and say, this is my friend, you should hire them because I vouch for them. And so because that is how people hire, it is really important that you have a strong presence online and a strong network in a business context. So a couple key terms defined. So let's take a step back and let's think about a brand. Well, businesses all have brands. You all are familiar with various brands. A brand is a product showcases what this thing you are looking at is, and it's essentially a shortcut to a decision-making process. So what is a personal brand or a professional brand? It's the exact same thing. Ideally, you're trying to have companies make a shortcut to choose you over everyone else. So let's think about some brands. What makes a good brand? What promise do you have, right? Let's think about this. So if I pull up these 2 pictures, Nike versus Adidas, like what comes to mind? What emotions do you solicit? I know there's only 2 of you on this call while we're creating your recording, but if you guys have opinions, I'd love to hear them.
I mean, yeah, and also when it comes to my Nike versus Adidas, basically what do you like the most? Style and comfort. I'm a Nike fan, honestly, but like I wear Adidas and Nike, honestly, but I'm Nike fan.
Nike fan, but you go both ways. I like it. Never know. So obviously these 2 brands are strong. These companies have spent billions of dollars creating these brands, and they do elicit feelings. So you don't need to spend billions of dollars, but you should understand what your work brand is. What is your professional brand? What makes you you from a work perspective? Now, this is a daunting question. I get it. I don't know what makes me me. So what I always tell people, what top 5 things do you do really well naturally? Now, we all have things that we're terrible at. That's just life. I do too. Everyone does. The CEO of Microsoft does. It's fine. But what do you do well? Is it that you connect to people? Is that you're super outgoing? Is it that you're really organized? Maybe you understand how to leverage the tools around you. Maybe you're always positive and you bring people up around you. I don't know what it is, but think about what those 5 things that you bring to the table naturally are. I don't want you to worry about the things you're not good at. We can all worry about those later, whatever. They're not part of our personal brand story. This is life. But what 5 things do you do really well? Start to think about those and start to lean on those. Those will be your brand. And if you only have 4, fine. If you have 6, that's fine too. But just think about what things make you good and what things do you know you're going to be good at. For me, if I come into a company, I know that I'm going to be able to be fairly strategic in the way that I approach my business. I overthink everything is the short answer, but I can use that to my advantage. And so for me, I have a lot of roles where I'm heavily involved in strategy and planning, and that is part of my professional brand that people are comfortable with coming to me with issues. So start to think about those, right? And then you can start to incorporate them. So for example, why do people choose you? What can they expect from you? How are you unique? What promise of quality do you have to an employer, a team, or a school? These should be things that you're naturally good at, not things that you want to be good at. And that way you can really start to incorporate them. Then you can start to pull in on your skills, your network, and in your information areas within LinkedIn, and you can start to build this brand, right? Your idea here is that you showcase your values and you're able to align with any goals that you have or things you have achieved to reinforce these top things, your professional brand. So anyone want to share a couple of things? It's okay to just skip over being humble for this part of it. But if is there anything that's coming to mind to you that you're like, you know what, I am good at that. I love hearing these stories. Anyone?
Yeah, I'll go. I don't know. I think I'm very outgoing and good in communication with people. Now, so this is very specific, but I'm good as also at video production. So
yeah. Those are great things. Honestly, I'm in tech sales. This is like one of the most sought after jobs in the world, and you have to be outgoing to be in this role. So that is absolutely something that you want to leverage. And video production is in such high demand as well. You know, coming from LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning, where we produce thousands of videos, it's also something that's in demand.
Well, for me, I think I'm also outgoing as well, and also I'm very organized, and I really manage time really well. So that's one of the 3 things that I'm really, really good at.
That's also critical. Time management is probably the most sought after skill by companies across the world. Truly. Like so many people are not good at time management. So if you are good at that, that is something to lean on really heavily. I love it. I love hearing how, taking the humble hat off and really thinking about what we are good at can be sort of uncomfortable for some people, but I love these ones that you guys have articulated. So use this to showcase you're the right candidate. Build this language into a LinkedIn profile, in your communication, your skills. Be careful what you post. Make sure it's in line with your professional brand. Have a brand message and start to think about these. All right. So we know the importance of LinkedIn. We're starting to think about our professional brand. How do we actually do this? Well, you have to build a LinkedIn profile. So building a profile is incredibly easy to just do one. It's a little more difficult to do it thoughtfully, right? So take your brand once you kind of think about it. And you start to set up an account. So we're going to go through how to do a setup, profiles versus resumes, how to take a great picture, and really how to edit your profile to be in line with your professional brand. So first of all, setting up an account is so easy. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on a desktop. There's Android apps, whatever it is. Go to linkedin.com, create a profile. If you already have one, you can log in, you can edit it. You walks you through the process. I'm not going to walk you through that hand in hand, but go through and fill out as much as you can. You also want to be thoughtful about being both comprehensive, but also clear and concise. You don't want pages and pages. Remember, a recruiter or somebody looking for connections in a business context is going to spend 10 to 30 seconds. So bullet points are great, or short paragraphs, but be very clear and concise in your messaging. Also, you want to make sure that whatever industry you work in, you're looping in keywords in and around that industry. For me, I work in tech, software, and sales. I work with online, and I work only in the higher education industry. So I make sure words like higher education are on my profile, or the abbreviation HED, which is the abbreviation for the higher education industry. I make sure that SaaS, I make sure that software, all of those types of things, ed tech, are all listed on my profile, so that as recruiters and people that are searching for those keywords, they're going to find me. So be thoughtful about that. The next piece is thinking about your profile versus your resume. Now, both of these are on here, and you can certainly upload a resume as an attachment to your profile. That's fine. I would take off all your, maybe your address, as this is public facing on the internet for safety reasons. But you can also use your profile as a digital portfolio. You can put in, if you have videos that you've produced, you can create links to them and have rich media on there. But keep in mind, your resume is very professional. Your profile has a little bit more personality and goes into a little bit more depth. This is going to allow people to see who you're connected with. This is going to allow you to pull in recommendations and endorsements. It goes into more detail. It has abilities to link your resumes and rich media and certifications. This is a little bit more comprehensive. And you can have a little bit more personality. It's not quite as stuffy as a resume. On my personal profile, I have a high maintenance cat and I like to garden. It's not at the front and center. You have to kind of read deep, but you'd be surprised at how many people actually reference that once they're actually, reading my profile deeply. The next piece that I want to mention is the photograph. A surprising amount of people don't do this well, right? So make sure you nail the photograph. It is, you get 21 times more visibility with a photograph. We are visual creatures, us humans. 9 times more connections requests, 21 times more visibility. Make sure that you have, just as this slide says, background that's not distracting. Make sure you dress for the job you want. You look fairly professional. You're approachable. You don't necessarily need to smile. If you're a guy and you're too cool, fine. But make sure you at least look approachable. Make sure that it's just you, no wedding headshots, no other people in the picture. Make sure it's a professional photo and you'll do well with it. You don't need a professional photographer. My own LinkedIn profile is like a selfie, but I have a black background. It looks good, but you don't need anything fancy here. Just make sure your picture looks professional. And then go ahead and edit it. So we already talked about some of the keywords, but make sure you actually also fill out your location. This is critical. This is how people find you. Your education, also critical. You are going to a great school. Make sure you list it on there. Skills you have, absolutely any internships or volunteer experience, programs, organizations, whatever you do from a work environment, list it on there. And think about how you word it. If you're a waiter and you take orders, great. Or do you manage a bustling restaurant and make sure that the operational side of the customer experience is handled in a customer service friendly way, right? You think about how you word your experience, because all experience is relevant, and let's be proud of what we do. Let's not downplay it, because work is hard. Let's get credit for it. So the next piece I want to talk to you about is your headline. So whenever people search, there's going to be a headline that comes up. Now, lots of people use their current job title, and that's fine, but you can be a little bit more creative with your headline. So my job title is incredibly boring. I'm a senior account director. It's like not something that I necessarily want to say. So on my tagline, my headline here, I actually have talent evangelist, because that's really what I do. I work with organizations on their talent and talent development, talent acquisition, listening strategies, things like that. So be creative. You don't necessarily need to have your current job title, or if you're open to new roles, you can actually even write that in there. Make sure it aligns with your professional brand though. And then your summary section. I think this is like personally the most difficult part, because this is where your flavor really comes out. At least 1 to 2 sentences about who you are, a couple sentences about your experience, your top skills, passions, goals, things like that, can be looped in there. So this is really short and sweet, but it's what people will go to understand who you are, what you've done in the past, where you're going. Bullet points are fine, but usually you want to be paragraph form here. Okay, so we know the importance of LinkedIn. We understand the importance of networking. We are understanding our professional brand. Now we're building a really good profile. What now? So the next piece we want to look at is now we start to connect with people. How do we do this? This is slightly uncomfortable, especially since I'm not connecting with just like my good best friends. I'm starting to connect with people who I think are going places, peers, people that I want to strategically align myself with. So my goal here for you guys is to send personalized connection requests to everybody who you do want to align yourself with. This is happening all the time. Just don't feel uncomfortable about it. It's an honor to be connecting with people. So go build those connections, especially if you come from one of those disadvantaged populations or you're a first-gen college grad. Basically, unless you're born into this fantastic familial network, you want to be building your own network, right? So make sure you start to leverage that and keep it in the back of your mind as you engage with people. Should I be adding this person on LinkedIn? If if you've been considering it to be yes, then you probably should be doing that. Take the initiative. Again, over 50% of hires are results from personal connections at this point on LinkedIn. 80% are from internal referrals. So you can see, obviously, the vast majority of those internal referral hires are happening on LinkedIn. That is why we want you guys to connect. So again, the power of networking, your first degree connections, your friends' friends, your friends' friends' friends. The more you have, the larger your connection base is. So what do we say when we connect? Always, always customize the message, unless it's like such a good friend that you talk to them every day that they're going to understand. You don't need to customize, if it's like your best friend, but any other reason, you do want to connect and you want to explain why you're connecting. What do you have in common? Things like that. Found you through a mutual connection. We have the same alma mater. We both worked for the same company. We both had this shared experience. I'd like to connect with you for that reason. And that can be really helpful. You can also now discover your connections by doing searches on LinkedIn, and it will show more connections. You can actually pull in your full email list from Google, whatever it is. But go ahead and click, connect to all the people that you feel beneficial, that will help you, or you can help them in the future. Then, of course, you can search for your connections. You have all kinds of filter. You can search by names, companies, locations, keywords, whatever it is. And my favorite piece is you can actually sort by your campus alumni. So if you go to your campus page, they have a page on there and all the alumni are listed. And as long as everyone has listed this school that they attended, they will be pulled into this alumni network and you can actually sort through all the alumni. So check that out too. That's a great way to get connections. So again, as you're reaching out, you can actually customize those messages too. Always add a note. We think personalization increases at least 4-fold the response rate. So make sure you're personalizing your messages. And then just start to expand your network strategically, right? Always reach out, always connect, always tell people why you are connecting. And then if you are asking for a favor of some kind, explain why. So I want to pause here and tell you guys a story. I was working in another company a long time ago, and I started to feel like I had sort of hit the cap and there was no growth potential at this particular company for me. But I liked the job. I just wanted a little bit more than they could offer. But I was happy. So I started to kind of look around, and a recruiter reached out to me and said, I have this job. I think you'd be great for it. And I responded. I said, okay, great. I had the initial phone screen and it sounded so good. It sounded exactly like what I was looking for at the time. So I reached out to a couple people that were doing the role on LinkedIn, and I explained, hi, I'm in a job I really like, but the recruiter reached out and I'm considering taking this interview process to the next step. I see that you work exactly in the role for the company I'm looking at. Can you please tell me if you like it? I would be much appreciated. Thank you. I sent that message to 3 people who were in the role that I was looking at. All 3 of them reached back out and said, no, it is the worst company to work for ever. It is horrible. The company culture, like all of these awful things. And I was just shocked because I was so excited about that company. I ended up canceling the interview process and finding a job that I loved. But to this day, I feel like that was a massive win for me. I could have ended up taking my career in a very different position and have been really unhappy. So I would never now take a job without double checking with the current employee base and getting candid one-off, sort of unsolicited recommendations. So, whatever it is you can do to manage your career, sometimes it's just that one job that can change the trajectory of your entire career if you take the steps to go and do that. So here we go. So now that you've got this great profile, you're connected to people, you can actually start to use it. You can message your connections. You can ask for informations on interviews. You can ask people to refer you. You can request informations. You can position yourself as an employee of choice by writing articles. There are salary finders on LinkedIn. You can see the culture of companies. You can search all available jobs across the network. You can set yourself reminders for jobs. There is so much you can do on LinkedIn. It is all there, and it is all there for you. So remember, again, LinkedIn members are 4 times more likely to be hired when they get referred. And so from a student's perspective, this is the big one. Please connect. You are in an environment where you are literally bundled together with all the future leaders in your geographic area. Connect with them, right? You never know where they're going to go. And we're all just a little bit insecure. Nobody wants to go out and build this network unless you're super outgoing. But I am very outgoing, and even I don't do that. So get yourself off the ledge, make those connections. You're never going to have another opportunity like college to make connections with all the future leaders of the world in your geography. So do that. So the next piece, I'm going to transition out of PowerPoint here, and I want to talk to you guys about a resource that your institution has invested in for you guys specifically, and that is LinkedIn Learning. Now you can access it through your Blackboard instance, and essentially you have access which your institution is paying for. It's not the cheapest thing. If you buy it on your own, I think it's $30 a month. It equates to a couple $100 over the year, but you have access to the entire LinkedIn Learning library. Now, this is something that oftentimes Harvard students and MIT students and all those guys use on a regular basis. And I want to say you're one of the only institutions in your entire state that offers this at your campus specifically. So it's really exciting that you have access to it. So essentially what it is 17,000 plus online courses that you can take in 7 different languages. And you can use the courses like just in time. Like if you're struggling for something in Excel, you can like, maybe if you really want to do VLOOKUPs in Excel, right? You can pop that in here. Here is a full course just on VLOOKUPs. Or maybe you don't want a full course. Every course is broken up into small bite-sized videos. Maybe I just want a 5-minute video on VLOOKUP. I know how to do it. I've done it before. I just remember I need to know how to find data using this. Here is a almost 3.5 minute video on just that piece, or I can take the full course. So you can get real-time answers to anything that you want. Maybe it's you have a really difficult conversation coming up and you need to figure out how to have that difficult conversation effectively. You're nervous about it. Here's a quick video, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, having a difficult conversation. Or you know what, in this case, I want something a little bit more comprehensive. I'm gonna take a full course. This one's just over an hour on how to have difficult conversations. So true story, a year ago, I had to have a very difficult conversation at work with somebody that I was overseeing. I was nervous about it. I popped into this course a half hour before the conversation. I watched it at 2x speed, not all of it, most of it. And I felt like I was so much more prepared to go in there and have a meaningful, positive conversation, even if it was difficult. So no matter what you're trying to do, whether it's happiness tips week, studying tips week, learning how to cite something, learning how to write something, learning a piece of technology, likely the content is there in LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning. The other core piece about this is that every single course that you take that you actually complete, you earn a badge that you can sync to your LinkedIn profile with one click. So if I go in here and I go into my learning history, you can see the courses that I have then completed. And you can go in and with one click, save them to your LinkedIn profile. So from that perspective, it's actually pulling in not just the keywords, but also metadata tags, which is on the back end, how we sort profiles. It's pulling in all those metadata tags onto the back end of your profile, making your profile more findable by recruiters. And people searching for you. So it is an incredible shortcut to making your profile more robust and more findable by people that are looking for things. So by all means, please go take courses. Your magic number is 4. People with 4 LinkedIn Learning badges on a profile are something like, I think it's 5x more likely to be found on LinkedIn. So I want to pause here and talk about hard skills versus soft skills. So there are 2 types of skills that we need to be acquiring. Our colleges, our institutions teach us hard skills. And through that process of learning, we often gain soft skills. So a hard skill is something that can easily be tested against, like a programming language or using Excel or a various technology. A soft skill is a little bit harder to test against. And as a former recruiter, I can tell you it's a little bit hard to recruit for too. This is, how well do people get along on a team? Are they effective communicators when they're upset? Can they do a presentation using data like I'm trying to do right now? These are soft skills. And it's really easy for us to articulate our hard skills. It's much harder for us to articulate our soft skills. So if you take any courses on LinkedIn at all, take the soft skills ones, because that is what everyone wants. They want the team players. They want the clear communicators. They want the people who are positive. They want the people who are good at time management, Bruno. So take those courses and earn those badges, because those ones will take you even further than the hard skills. The hard skills are really good, but you're coming out of an institution. Most people, we know you're going to have the hard skills. If you're not sure where to start with the soft skills, you can actually just type in soft skills. And there is a wonderful learning path. Learning paths are a couple of courses strung together. that take you from low skills in a subject to high skills. These are the top most in-demand soft skills. And we actually built this in response to customer requests following COVID, where everyone was locked up at home. And then all of a sudden they came back to the office and nobody knew how to communicate with each other. This was built for that purpose. So you can see all of these: EQ, resilience, embracing unexpected change. Does any of this sound familiar with the last 18 months? Critical thinking, trust, teamwork, communication, listening. This is critical. Persuasion, writing in plain language, and banishing your inner critic. So these are examples of soft skills, and these particular ones, I think it's 11, right? Yeah, these 11 are the top in-demand ones according to much of the research that we've done. So play in here, utilize this tool. It is such an advantage that you have this on your campus. It's relatively new. I want to say just over a year you've had it on the campus, and in terms of higher ed, that's like lightning. Yeah, it's like very new. So play with it, earn those badges. You can watch the content at 2x speed, take the quizzes, practice exams, whatever it is you need. But these will really help you in, answering questions if you're struggling with something at 2 a.m. trying to finish an assignment before the due date. But also earning those badges can help you. They stay with your LinkedIn profile for life, even after you graduate. So it'll really help you add skills and make you more findable on LinkedIn. So I'm going to pause there and see if there are any questions. I know we just have a small group here while we create this recording, but if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for that. I didn't know that we had the LinkedIn Learning in our Blackboard. Do you know how to reach that on Blackboard?
Let me see. I don't have access to that because it's directly through your Blackboard instance, but let me give you a contact. So Courtney is the one who is responsible for this integration. And let's see if I can drop this into the chat here. Courtney is the one who manages all of it. And so she will be able to answer any questions you have about the instance on your campus. And I've included her name and email.
I will email her after, but as you talked, I went to my LinkedIn profile and then I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't look professional at all. I mean, I have my experience, of course. I'm international student in Northern, so I couldn't work outside of campus. So I did a bunch of volunteer and working on campus, but it has a lot of areas to improve. And yeah, you're right. I think if you earn those badges and then work as a professional brand is great. So I have a question like in the talking about yourself section here on LinkedIn. How should I write though? Like what should I write there?
So you're talking about the summary section. So essentially what you want to do is a couple statements about who you are, a couple statements about what you've done in the past, and then a couple statements about your goals. So for me, I think I say something like, keep in mind, I've been at LinkedIn for 10 years. I'm probably not going anywhere. So mine is a little bit less formal. If I was looking for a job, I might keep it a little more formal. But I say something along the lines of I'm deeply passionate about talent acquisition, developing talent. I love the higher education space. It's an honor to work here. I've been doing this for 10 years. And then I go into, some achievements that I've had in the past, and personal and professional. And then I go into goals. which is essentially I'm exactly where I want to be. Like this is the spot where I would like to stay. So that's what a little bit about mine, but I think that's typical. So if you are an international student, and by the way, my husband was an international student, so kudos to you. It is even more challenging and more critical that you build those connection requests. But what you likely want to do is outline all of this experience that you have, and having experience living and working in multiple different countries. Volunteering is working, so that counts. Living and working in multiple different countries. Languages is another huge aspect that people can add on to their profile that should be highlighted. And then what your goals are following your institution, what industries you want to work in, what you're passionate about. All of those types of things can be absolutely imperative to a LinkedIn profile and having success.
Great. That's awesome that your husband was an international student. That's great.
Yeah. All right.
I will work on that.
Perfect. Okay, well, if you don't have any other questions, I will stop the recording here and I'll send it to you when I have some time, but I'm thrilled to be supporting your campus specifically. I kind of love the story of your campus across all the things that I do. And so it's really fun. I work with Courtney hand in hand. So by all means, let me know how we can support you, but I hope you guys, this group and anybody who's watching this recording, feels much more confident and motivated to take ownership of their professional brand and their career now and in the future, and see where this can take you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I want to say thank you so much, and I will work with the communications to get this out on our YouTube page, and maybe for some students as well. Probably put on Blackboard.